Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolutely incredible real-life story of William Kamkwamba. We're talking about a bright, clever kid who grew up in a really poor farming village in Malawi, Africa. His journey? Well, it's a literal masterclass in resilience, and it shows us just how far human ingenuity can actually go, even when the odds are completely stacked against you. But before we get into all that, I want you to ask yourself a question. What would you do if your survival relied entirely on the weather? Just think about that for a second. Imagine your family's food, your income, literally your entire livelihood hanging in the balance, depending solely on whether or not it decides to rain. Those were the very real, very high stakes of William's world right from the jump. Section 1, Survival and the Famine. Let's look at the harsh realities of life in William's village during a time of absolute crisis. You see, William grew up in a farming family. His dad worked tirelessly in the maize fields, but the fundamental issue here was that they depended completely on the rain. The formula for life was pretty unforgiving. Good weather meant families survived and crops grew. But failing weather, well, that meant crops failed and families suffered. All of their backbreaking work was at the absolute mercy of the clouds. And then the absolute worst-case scenario became reality. A severe drought and famine hit the village. Crops completely failed, food became extremely scarce, and people quite literally started starving. Now, for William, this agricultural disaster became a really tragic personal blow. He was this highly intelligent, super curious kid who loved learning and tinkering with radios. But because his family suddenly couldn't pay his school fees, he was forced to drop out. Poverty abruptly stopped the education of an incredibly bright student. Section 2. The Hidden Library Spark. Because William flat out refused to let his curiosity die just because he couldn't sit in a classroom. While desperately searching for answers, William started secretly using the local school library. And let me tell you, this wasn't just a room with books to him. It was a total gateway to salvation. Right there on those shelves, he stumbled upon a physics book that explained the mechanics of wind energy and electricity. It completely captured his imagination. Right then and there, William realized he could trigger a brilliant chain reaction to save his family. He mapped out this perfect three-step plan in his mind. Step 1, build a windmill or wind turbine to generate electricity. Step 2, use that newfound electricity to power a water pump for irrigation. And Step 3, help his family grow food even when those brutal droughts inevitably returned. It was just a highly logical solution to a total existential threat. But, having an idea is one thing. Making it a reality is a whole different ballgame. Section 3, Scavenging and Building. Now, William didn't have a hardware store down the street. He definitely didn't have a budget, but he didn't let that stop him. With the help of his buddy Joffrey, he started scavenging. They collected absolutely anything they could get their hands on. We're talking old bicycle parts, random metal scraps, pieces of wood, and components from broken radios. Somehow, he figured out the physics of it all, understanding exactly how connecting a spinning bicycle wheel to a makeshift dynamo could literally create an electrical current. It's truly a marvel of resourcefulness. To look at a pile of pure junk and see the raw ingredients for a power grid, that's genius. But the social friction he faced while doing all this was staggering. The people in the village honestly thought he was crazy. They laughed at him. They assumed he was just wasting his time playing with garbage during a literal famine. And even worse, his own father doubted him at first and actually stopped William from using certain family materials, so he had to persevere with practically zero support from his own community. But he pushed forward anyway, using a really logical, phased approach. Over a period of days, he rigorously gathered those scrap parts. Then, taking those parts over a matter of weeks, he managed to build a small, working prototype model. Once he proved the concept to himself, he spent months doing the really heavy lifting, constructing a full-size windmill hoisted way up on a massive, tall wooden tower to catch the wind above the trees. Section 4. The Breakthrough Moment. This brings us to the climax of this explainer, because after months of exhausting physical labor, numerous failures, and the constant heavy weight of his village's doubt, the machine was finally ready. Okay, picture the scene. This tall wooden tower stands over the dry earth. The villagers are all gathered around, watching. William climbs up, takes a small, fragile light bulb, wires it to his makeshift generator, and slowly releases the mechanical brake holding those heavy blades back. Boom! The light turns on. The village witnessed the absolute unbelievable. A young boy who had been forced out of school had just created electricity from the wind. The very wind that blew across their failing crops was now generating tangible power. Section 5. Innovation changes destiny. Let's look at the immediate aftermath and how this single, incredible invention completely transformed the village. The practical impacts were immediate, and they were staggering. Suddenly, William's home had electricity. People from all around the village could come by to charge their cell phones, instantly connecting them to the outside world. But honestly, most importantly, way beyond the electrons and the circuitry, hope finally returned to the village. They realized they weren't entirely powerless against the weather anymore. And William's life changed forever, too. Over the next few months, he became highly respected as a local inventor. As the years passed, his story went global. He was actually invited to share his journey at international TED conferences. Looking at the decades that followed, he secured the support he needed to continue his education, and he went right back to doing what he loves, improving his inventions and bringing real solutions to those who need them most. So, when we distill this amazing true story down, we're left with a few undeniably powerful takeaways. First, education, whether it's in a formal classroom or secretly in a library, can fundamentally change your destiny. Second, pure curiosity is an absolute superpower. Third, extreme poverty is no match for relentless innovation. And finally, one single idea, executed with pure determination, has the power to uplift an entire community. I want to leave you with a thought to chew on today. Knowing what William achieved with broken bicycle pieces and old radios, ask yourself, what could you build from the scraps in your backyard to change the destiny of your community? Knowledge is everywhere, and as William showed us, the power to change the world might just be waiting for a spark of curiosity. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you leave feeling as inspired as I do.